history, you married and you socialized only with people who were of the same, quote, genetic or DNA structure. Now, there is a lot more mingling of classes, and therefore you get the Google guys or Michael Dells, people that aren't that were born on the opposite side of the tracks but are making some serious money, and they're not, quote, the right DNA. They're not the right genetics to the older crowd, like the Rockefellers and so forth. And so that's where you have the division, and that's where you have the split. And it's a very interesting time because some of these conversations, and I've been in these conversations, are really thought-provoking and intriguing conversations. Now, I believe that, look, if you have 1,000 people, give everybody the same chance, everybody the same information, because guess what? The smart ones who really want to work hard will succeed more than the other people. But everybody should have the same opportunity.
Well, again, we're talking to Kevin Trudeau. Just an amazing interview here. Very, very excited to have you on the show. Dealing with Bilderberg, any other information that came out, anything else you can tell us that you weren't told to be secretive about?
Well, I think what people really need to understand is in America, for the next 2 to 5 years, here's what's going to happen. Number one, there's going to be an increased number of people losing their jobs, going from full to part-time, or getting a reduction in pay. So 75% of the people in the next 2 to 5 years are going to have less money coming in. Taxes and fees are going to go up. So more money's going out, okay? There is going to be a level of inflation. And that's still going to be controlled by the Fed, but there is going to be some type of inflation. It's undecided whether they want the inflation to be so rampant where the U.S. dollar no longer becomes the monetary supply of the world, the reserve currency. That's still being debated because, quite frankly, China wants their dollar to be the reserve currency. And keep in mind, Bilderberg is only North America and Europe. And there's another group in a different faction in Southeast Asia. And I've been down there. They're at odds. It's a very interesting...
Who are the Arabs mainly allied with, Europe and the U.S.?
The Arabs are allied with themselves.
Yeah.
They're 100%, and I just was there in Bahrain. Basically, they're themselves. It's oil. They know they got about 50 years left, so they're diversifying into banking. You've said it on the show so many times. The first number one way to control the planet or control everything is control the money, and that's control the banks. So that's always number one. The other factor, there's another factor that was discussed at the meeting in Greece, and that is something that no one's talking about. And me and a buddy of mine knew about this 4 years ago, and we've been really heavily invested in this. Water.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you notice European and other companies will pay 10, 15 times what reservoirs and aquifers are worth. They are grabbing it all up, aren't they?
Yes. Water is the next oil. Because if you control the water supply and the water flows, you have even more control than you do with oil.
Well, here's an example. Boone Pickens doesn't want to put air systems, the windmills, up in the panhandle of Texas to actually create energy because the lines have to be run so far that you lose the power through the lines. So if you do the equations, it's not going to make money. It's not going to supply any power with the wind energy. But the biggest aquifer in the U.S. is right there. And if you read the deals he signed, it's really all about getting control of that ocean of water that's as big as the state of Texas.
Correct. And it's very interesting when the last James Bond movie was all about this great, wonderful, quote, environmentalist, who in fact was the evil villain trying to control the water. I think it was Bolivia or something in the movie. But believe me, when you watch movies, Hollywood is used categorically, and this has been documented throughout history, as the way to begin to desensitize people to different concepts. I mean, do you remember back in the old days, a guy would be at a firing squad, and they would say, and this is a black and white movie, they would say, do you have any last requests? Yeah, I want a cigarette. Wait a minute, a cigarette is your last request?
That was programming product placement for a cigarette.
Of course. I mean, okay, Alex, What's your last request? It's probably not going to be a
Well,
cigarette.
what do you want after sex in all the movies? They want a cigarette. I mean, that's like Edward Bernays was paid to say bacon had to go with eggs in the morning. Nobody ate bacon. It was kind of like a junk thing used for cooking and stews.
Exactly.
But now,
exactly. And cognac. Cognac is from the grape skins that they threw away.
Exactly. So they create markets. They create markets. You know, Kevin Trudeau. So you're hanging out with Bilderberg. So who's coming after you here in the States? The bigger special interests, the drug companies that don't want you exposing them?
Yeah, well, when I wrote the book Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About, I was the first guy to say something, which is heresy. I said drug companies don't want to cure disease. All they want to do is sell drugs. Drug companies are publicly traded corporations who the officers and directors have a legal responsibility, a fiduciary legal responsibility to increase shareholder value. If a drug company's goal was to eliminate all disease, they'd all be bankrupt. And I pointed that out. And I pointed that out that they're publicly traded companies. They have to increase drug usage per person. They want more people taking more drugs on a regular basis. They do not want to cure disease. And when I said that, I was attacked by everybody, and the attacks actually helped make the book. You know, right now that particular book has sold over 25 million copies in hardcover.
Yeah, so the attacks are actually helping you. And, you know, I called you Michael Trudeau earlier because we used to have a sales manager at the network named Michael Trudeau, who was who was a huge fan of you. Again, we got Kevin Trudeau on the line with us. Just amazing. Plug some of the websites. Where do people get these books? I mean, is there a central clearinghouse where people can find?
I have an online store at naturalcures.com, and naturalcures.com is a website. I actually sold it for several $100 million a couple of years ago, and I took it back because I really want to take that website and make it the ultimate source of natural health information in the world. It's already one of the most visited natural health sites in the world. But naturalcures.com, people can go to. They can get my books at discounts. They can also become a member of that website. We also have globalinformationnetwork.com, which is a new site that's basically is launching in the fall, and it's going to be giving information to people who are members from my associates from all the, quote, secret societies.
Oh, so you're gonna start leaking all the info, and they don't care because they think we're all mindless slaves anyways, and it's part of the conditioning process.
Correct.
And when we come back, is there anything they're scared of?
I'll tell you, yes.
Kevin Trudeau is our guest, naturalcures.com.